And I would like to just remind that the Q&A session will be at the end, and we very kindly ask you to prepare your questions at the very end and to mute your microphones and to turn off your cameras until the Q&A session will start. Thank you so much, and Tom, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Kasia. Good morning, everybody. My name is Tom Listowski. I head up the Cresa's industrial service line for Central and Eastern Europe. For those that don't know who Cresa is, we are an international real estate advisory firm active across several continents. I'd like to welcome my panelists and also ask each of you to please introduce yourselves, a short word about the organization you represent. So I'll start with you, Maciej, please.
If I'm on, can you hear me well?
Yep, perfect.
Okay. So hello, good morning, Maciej, Walenda. I represent DSV. We are a global transport and logistics company. So we focus on various areas of logistics, from air and sea transport through roads and contract logistics. And happy to join this panel this morning. My role in a company, I'm Executive Vice President. I'm responsible for 8 countries and supervising the operations in Central Eastern Europe, Russia, and also Israel. So I do hope that I will be able to share some views from the market during this session. Thank you.
Michał, thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Michał Samborski. I'm representing PANATTONI Europe. We are a development company specialized in the industrial sector. We are focused on creating new product, building houses, industry buildings, leasing this, and selling content. I'm working on a core market, and I am responsible for a core market development.
Thank you, Michał. Tomasz?
Yes, hello, Tomasz Rychlicki. I'm representing VELUX Group, leading supplier of the roof windows all over the world. Well, in Poland, we have 4 locations located in Namysłów, Gniezno, Warszawa and Wędkowy. VELUX Group and their sister company Dovista produce windows, and as a group we are responsible. We are hiring 4,000 people in Poland, and we are responsible for almost 20% of the Polish export in windows. By the way, Poland is the biggest European producer of the windows. Personally, I'm responsible for finished goods logistics and distribution in Poland.
Thank you very much. Well, as the title of our discussion suggests, we will be talking about COVID and the impact it's having on the industrial supply chain and basically the challenges that we are facing. I guess, we'd all agree that we're living in extraordinary times. As of March, a lot of us had to adapt to new realities, both personally and also in our professional lives. I'd like to start the discussion by kind of going back pre-COVID and just ask all the panelists, where were your business positioned before this happened? Are there any initiatives that you were planning? And in general, just provide some feedback how you guys were performing prior to this global event. So again with you, Maciej, if you don't mind.
Thank you, Tom. In general, I think that pre-COVID was on a very steep growth, and Central and Eastern Europe, Poland was on very good pace. So therefore, logistics was benefiting from it, and I would say still is. I will explain it later on. But in general, I would say the demand for logistic needs was growing. So therefore, we were in quite rapid growth scenario, and we were just after the merge with or acquisition of Panalpina that DSV has acquired last year, another logistic player. So in general, I would say it was very optimistic and growing. And right now it still is, but a bit different. But I assume it's a next round's question. So I will come back to this one later on.
Thank you. Exactly right. Michał from PANATTONI. Do you mind also?
Yes. Before COVID even start, we observe a stable situation on the market. Healthy and good increase of the demand of the new space, a lot of new projects. Beginning of 2020, it was the third year when we observing a stable market, healthy growth. The business was going well, so nothing special was happened. Everybody, of course, was preparing that something could happen, but nobody expects that we have issue like that.
Right. True. Tomasz.
Yes, in fact, after 3 years of the nice growth, especially on Polish market, yes, last year we have increased our sales with 12%. It was another year where we expect to continue the same pattern. Well, some optimization initiatives we have already started beginning of the year, changing the way of picking products in our warehouse. It was one of the initiatives. However, well, it was expected that it will be another nice year of the nice growth and development, in fact.
Okay, so we enter March, or the middle of March, and all of a sudden we're hearing about COVID. We're hearing about China shutting down. We're hearing about restrictions in cargo movement. It's impacted all of us. Question to the panelists, guys: what were the biggest, let's say, restrictions or the most significant issues that your business faced initially, and how did you react to that?
Okay, so my turn still. Of course, the first days were enormously tricky and difficult. So yes, in fact, it was something that we were working on adjustments. It was something that we had disturbance in flow from Asia. We had disturbance in flow around the overall market. We had drops of the volumes on local distribution. And it was, I would say, quite a challenging moment because every planning was basically gone, and it was the moment when we said, okay, we have to restructure everything. Basically, the customers were asking us to support them because they couldn't have, and the flow of the goods was blocked. You've heard about the vessels that were waiting, that were put on quarantine. Then in Poland, it was impacting the local distribution because the customers were planning some outbound volumes for Poland, and therefore it was basically not delivered. So it was quite the interesting moment of time when we were basically every day sitting with our customers and saying, okay, what can we do? And basically how to adjust. But slowly we see that, and I think it's a Polish mentality that everyone is looking for, not only how to adjust, but also how to react on various situations. So we saw that some customers say, okay, we cannot do this, we cannot sell those products, let's switch to something different, or let's use this moment to distribute some goods via different channel. Also, in my opinion, it was quite interesting to see, and the benefits of the logistic industry is also that if you have quite a diversified portfolio, you can see enormous growth on one side of the business. It's simple to say that pharma was booming, especially in first days when everyone ran to the pharmacies and just bought everything that maybe was not required, but that was the case. And then on the other hand, some others were suffering, like automotive business, obviously. So it was a slowdown. So we were able to absorb some of the resources needs to other industries. So it was the rescheduling and replanning. So that was the first stage. I think that it was a very challenging moment because we were also responsible for delivering the goods to those critical points, and sometimes it was not that obvious for everyone. But the smoothness of the logistic flow was a key element in first days. When some demand for hygiene products, demand for various products that were crucial in this moment, and the market was just pulling enormous amounts of those. It was crucial. Of course, we were facing enormous challenges also on the warehouses side, where we have thousands of people sitting and just working every day, and we needed to provide them safe environment. We needed to, in very short notice, implement very strict safety and health and safety improvements that were not in place. So we were just and of course it was just the WHO was presenting some instructions, but you know how it was. That there was no possibility to get some goods, even some disinfection materials in the right amounts. So we were just on one hand, we were responsible to deliver the goods to the pharmacies, to the shops, to the retail market. But on the other hand, we were keeping our people safe, and that was sometimes really challenging when first deliveries from Italy were coming. And Italy was obvious the most spectacular example of number of cases. It was basically huge discussion what to do with those drivers when they are just entering our warehouses, how to secure the warehouse. So it was really replanning and readjusting the whole organization to this moment, but I'm really proud to say that that we had no cases. So it only proves that that we've managed to secure those barriers in the right way, and also we were able to deliver what was expected from us. But it was a real challenge during those, especially few first weeks when we were basically, and none of the industry participants were ready for first days of COVID.
Absolutely, I think it caught everyone by surprise. So were you able to rebalance? Basically, you said that you had a slowdown in the automotive, then you had a pickup in pharma. Was that kind of counterbalanced, or did you need to restructure your HR for those specific functions? Or
Fortunately, I can say from our perspective, we needed to implement some adjustments, of course, but we've decided to keep the staff. So it was our highest priority.
Okay.
So we've unfortunately needed to implement some salary reductions, but for me the biggest priority was to keep the staff on a level that people had full stability of their jobs, and that was the highest priority. We had a lot of discussions with Works Council, and of course discussions how to approach it. But in general, the feedback was the same. So everyone said, yeah, we know, we understand that, for example, because it might be the case that one side was down if we have the automotive side, but on the other hand, it was really clear that people understood that it's better to survive 2 months with a bit adjusted salaries if there is no work, rather than just have the full staff reduction and basically huge impact on the personal life of our employees. Right. So we've decided to go this way. It was positive. Right now we are recovering. It goes much better right now, and we observe that that the trend is rather more steep, as you probably saw all those macroeconomic forecasts. So it's rather recovering in quite steep way. So also it was quite positively, and people reacted positively on this one, that we've kept the resources, and we're not just cutting heads in a very brutal way at first day. So that was our approach, but of course it required some adjustments. We were not able to absorb drops of some volumes in sites by just keeping the people without any change, but we're not reducing the resources.
And just out of curiosity, did you or DSV utilize any of the government support that was being provided to companies?
Yes, we were using some of the support, but you know how tricky it is and quite complex to get this one, because there are so many elements that you have to
criteria
fulfill, and then criteria that are sometimes not that clear. But yes, partially we have used also the governmental support.
Right. And was there a specific new business opportunity that purely arose out of COVID for you guys?
I think that I do not want to use this word because it's so obvious, and everyone says that e-com is obvious, and everyone is switching to e-com, and we also instead of buying the groceries or whatever, we order it. But yes, this is one of the elements that some of the companies said, okay, we haven't done it. Let's move to e-com. But so I would leave it because it's, I think, quite obvious. What we more what's more interesting is the approach has changed a bit. That the customers have release the tension a bit on logistic providers, and we're looking more and are looking more on some longer perspective, including such potential impacts, because I think that from risk analysis, such big bang was always excluded, and for some years nobody said it's not possible that we have enormous stop of the goods flow and just this blockade of the flow. But in current reality, customers said, okay, let's sit together, let's think it over. let's maybe create some more, I would say, leverage in various areas, just to have it more stabilized. So we do observe, and we spend quite a lot of time, and our teams are working on it, how to change the future setup of the current customers' needs, which is quite positive, because we are discussing about elements that were not taken into consideration ever before. And I think that this is something that the customers are saying, okay, we need to be sure that we will be not that impacted. One of the easiest example is the safety stock, that usually customers were reducing year over year. They were saying, we want to keep less goods in the warehouse because the flow is so smooth, the flow is so undisturbed, that they were saying, yeah, it's better to keep, and of course the costs were lower. But right now we see that they are saying, okay, maybe we should diversify it, maybe we should have 2 locations, maybe we should have more space just to keep the goods. So obviously from the signals from our industry it's quite positive. And also we see that the customers are trying to have some more, I would say, more discussions about the changes of the view on the flow. So before that, it was quite difficult to start discussions if we wanted to have some black scenarios, because everyone said, yeah, you will cope with it, and right now it's a bit different. But on the other hand, the customers are saying, let's not stop, let's push the launches, let's push the new openings. We haven't seen anything that was basically put on hold. So it is quite optimistic, because everyone would like to push still to get more business. So that's the situation.
Thank you very much, Maciej. Michał from Panattoni, how did life at Panattoni change, or did it at all change? Once you guys obviously also had to adapt to COVID-19. What were some of the first things that you guys had to implement? Any restrictions that you had to face, and how did you cope with that?
This is 3 areas. That's the COVID impact. First is, of course, deliver a new space. It was a project that was going on, and that when you read the timing for delivering the project and finish the construction, or be in the construction process, we are in contact with our client, and nobody of them want to delay. They say that okay, we agreed before COVID what we agreed, and we want to get the building. And this was a big influence, because the authority, because the architecture supervisors and other authority was closed, or was working on only on the half, on a quarter time. But we have to finish the building. So this was the first issue, to manage the process of the construction that was going on. The second issue was demand for a new space, demand from the client. At the first days, we think, okay, it is a new situation. So maybe some clients will stop their decision, they stop their process, and it was happened that some clients decide to delay the new project, but other clients will come and they required a new space. So average the require for new space and new transaction was on the same level, or sometimes slightly higher. So this was nice, but required from us a lot of the flexibility, because the demand for a new space was changed for the type of the space, changed from the type of the for our clients. As Maciej mentioned before, the automotive stopped the project, but the other activity increased the demand. Of course, everybody is saying about e-commerce, and I have to add also, yes, e-commerce increased the demand. But this was the change that we observed, that some clients, even they have a typical warehouses, and this typical warehouses was operating on the same level, on the lower level. They required a new space because they are moving part or larger part of their activity from a typical shops to the e-commerce. So we observed that the typical space in the shopping center was changed to the industrial space for e-commerce, where somebody have to prepare these goods, pack them, and deliver the space. This is also new and large requirements from the company that's deliver the boxes, deliver or products. Impost is the case. That's
yeah.
So this is a COVID and impost. It is
they complement each other well.
how the market is growing in this area. And the third but not last, observe the situation. It was changing in the stock. As Maciej mentioned before, the clients is thinking about, okay, maybe, especially because of the transport goods from China, we observed the situation that a lot of the clients decided, okay, maybe we have to have a higher or larger stock in Poland close to the factory, because we have problem. That's okay, we can finish the 95% of our products, but we are lack of the few elements, and we can't finish the production. So maybe these elements have to be stored in the larger quantity next to the factory. We have to have a larger buffer, and of course this caused the requirements for the new specs. So looking from the 3 months ahead of the coronavirus, we are observing that the market, from our perspective, is growing and developing. The foundation is stable and good, and everybody is believing that after the pandemic is over, we have a stable and good increase.
Super. Well, obviously, what we identified were a lot of the retailers, in particular, looking for short-term space. Obviously, with bricks and mortar stores being closed and even fully replenished, they still had stock coming over from China, and obviously, it's much more expensive to house that in ports. So we obviously observed a lot of short-term requirements. I take it, Michał, that you guys as well.
Yes, we observed that the requirement for the short terms was increasing, but from our perspective, requirement for the normal deals was also on the table. So we see that a lot of these requirements of the short term was absorbed by the logistic company, who can lease the space for the longer term. Of course, we have some example that's during not weeks, not the days, even the hours, the company decided, okay, we need additional space, and they took the space for the short-term terms, sometimes for the longer terms. And we are observing that some of this requirements for the shorter terms becoming stable, and we believe that this activity will be continued for the longer times, and in some cases it's being confirmed.
And final question: Did you guys take advantage of any government support as a result of COVID in your business?
We are trying to help our clients to get the optimization on the taxes, but this is not a typical use of the government aid. Rather, we are cooperation with the local authority to get some opportunities to get free of the real estate taxes or like that.
And I take it as well, you were providing some flexibility to your occupiers who are struggling. Obviously, we had a lot of questions asking, can we push out our rental payments by 3 or 6 months, or find some type of relief in that respect? Is that something that also was impacting?
Yes, this is the continued process cooperation with our client, and depending cases by cases, because clients from different groups have different requirements.
Right.
Some of them require increased space, some of them require decreased space, some of them asking for rent-free periods. So depending on the case, yes, but the change and the flexibility, this was the issue of the first weeks. Now we see that the situation is stable and market is still growing.
Okay, super. Thank you very much, Michał. Tomasz, how did life change at VELUX come COVID? What were your biggest issues and let's say initial restrictions that you faced, and what were your main priorities as soon as this hit you guys?
Well, it was a huge challenge for us, in fact. Looking from the global perspective, our supply chains were affected. I can tell you that in case of the manufacturing activities, some of our suppliers have to stop their deliveries overnight. We had an Italian supplier who was not able to deliver us with some components, so it has affected us. It required very fast acceptance tests from the new supplier. It was in fact a Chinese supplier, so additional extra cost of transport were on the top of that as well. So definitely yes, from the, let's say, supply chain perspective. Distribution wise, well, it depends on the market to market. Some markets behave as normal. Western European markets, Germany, Netherlands, or Benelux in general, we have observed some slowdown, but in general the sales was as usual. Some markets, again Italy, they stopped overnight, and for a few weeks we sold 0 windows on the market, which was before one of our, let's say, top markets in Europe. Well, from the Polish market perspective, I would say governmental restrictions didn't affect building industry, so we could observe high interest on our products, and it was more important to keep the supplies to make sure that we can provide our customers with the necessary goods. Besides, lockdown creates some kind of demand or more awareness of the, let's say, living environment. So in this period, we could observe high demand for the blinds, which probably was related to the fact that people spent more of their time at home. All in all, I can tell that we as a group has decided to stop our operations, depending on the market, depending on the locations, up to 3 weeks. So the production was stopped completely. People were sent home, and now with the demand on our products, which is, let's say, which in some market came to the previous, let's say, pre-COVID level. In some market, it's slightly affected. We need even to consider some extra efforts, some extra capacities to deliver this before the season, which is in our case the autumn period. So in fact, we need to respond in a good way to customer demands.
Right. And any business opportunity arise purely out of COVID for you guys?
Well, it was. We still believe that Polish market, especially, will continue the nice development in coming years. It was the opportunity, you know, to revise our delivery strategy. It was the time when we have increased the, let's say, delivery time from 24 to 48 hours without, let's say, affecting the customers, and it was quite well received by our customers. It gave us opportunity, you know, to prepare ourselves for the future, for the, let's say, to respond on the growing demand for a few years which we observe. And
are you guys now back to full capacity?
Yes, we are on a full capacity. I can tell that we even need to consider some extra possibilities. We consider working on Saturdays. We consider overtimes due to the high demand for our products.
Okay, that's good news. Okay, so let's say we can see some visibility. We can see obviously that you know, in Poland in particular, you know, we've eased restrictions compared to other countries in the region, and not to mention Western Europe. I guess the question, and I'll come back to Maciej on this, you know, are any of the changes that you've implemented going to be permanent, or do you see something changing or going back to how it was? And also, do you think your business is going to be better positioned kind of moving out of this? You just got to put audio on, Maciej. There we go. We've got you now.
I've heard that that this is the most commonly used word. You're on mute recently, so this is the fact. Some changes. It's hard for me to answer this one because there are so many different industry that we have as a customers. So I think that this is something that will it's difficult to answer. For some industries, we are implementing some totally different distribution models because the customers are saying, okay, we need to change what we have planned before. And this is something that we will that we are for sure currently adjusting. I think that we need to also look at the perspective of potential threats that is constantly I would say forecasted for Q4 for this year. That everyone says that the impact will be the same or even higher after summer. So I think we are much better prepared for it because we know what to do. We have implemented many procedures that will allow us to implement some restrictions. I would say within a few days or even hours. So I think from this side we are much more secured, and we all know, but this is not coming from our industry, but every company has prepared those scenarios for actions that are just implemented in very short period of time because we know that it might happen. It also triggered some more flexibility on various areas. So I think that that this is the biggest change. That first there is much more discussion on around the tables that we have about some preparation for some unforeseen situations. And then second point is that that we are ready to change the setup, the way of working even faster than before. So I would call it this this change in general as a approach to and as an effect of this situation. And also I think that it's something that shows that sometimes the companies that were not that eager to discuss about scenarios that were crazy at some moment of time, right now they're ready to discuss about it. So this
Right.
is the key element. For distribution in transport, what Michał also mentioned is that we see that the customers are trying to shorten their delivery route, and they are saying, okay, let's not distribute it. Let's try to be closer to the customer. But it's a natural effect. But I don't. We will see how it will develop, because from one hand, it's a reaction on the current situation, but on the other hand, I don't think that it will. It can. It in some ways it's justified. Yeah, we have quite a stable network. Not only DSV, but the whole industry in logistics. We have developed such stable network that it's quite easy to distribute goods, especially within the EU or the region. So we will see how it will develop.
Obviously, you're based in Poland and kind of coordinate across Central Europe. Do you see Poland being a beneficiary of this situation, with more companies, manufacturers here, increasing their footprints, having more inventory of raw materials or finished goods? Is that something that are you having noise and questions?
This is something that we will definitely benefit from. And we see lots of requests, which was quite interesting. That the number of requests from the companies abroad was enormous. I thought that the guys from sales and business development department were just they were not able even to cope with those, because I don't know how in reality it will to what extent it will be implemented, but really the signals are that some companies are really interested to increase the stock, or to relocate some business.
Mm-hmm.
An obvious opportunity is still in Poland, because the cost is still lower. The quality of the logistics is very high. I'm also talking about the whole industry, that we have all companies on the market are on very good level, and I think that we've managed to create very competitive proposal, because if you combine those two elements, so still price and reasonable distance, so it's a very interesting place to put the goods coming from Asia and to keep them in here, not to transfer them to Benelux or whatever place. So yeah, I strongly believe that we will get much more potential business after this change. Okay.
And any specific industry that's kind of asking these questions, or is it?
I think that there is no specific industry. The reason is simple, that sometimes we say that the one part can stop the whole factory, and all those automotive plants that were shut down in Europe during the COVID, it was not the fact that they were suddenly there was enormous drop. Of course, there was a drop of the demand for cars, but the crucial element is what I think also Michał said. that the crucial element was that the one part might be missing, and basically you cannot assemble the car without one electronic device or one rubber part. So I think it's a maybe a bit exaggerated example, but this is a fact that it's hard to point out the industry, because some of them are still supplying to various areas, are supplying to various parts. And what Krzysztof said, that in Italy they had some supplier that was not providing something, that was just that might impact the whole flow. So I wouldn't point out the exact industry, but I think that the flow of the goods will be a bit different. And if I would be a producer sitting in Western Germany and thinking, okay, how can I secure my production? I would say, okay, maybe let's put more storage, but why not to put the storage in Poland, Eastern Europe, whatever. It's close, it can be delivered quite fast. Still, of course, it has to travel via this road from Asia, but maybe we will not plan for it 4 weeks, but we will plan for it 8 weeks in stock rotation. But so this is what we see right now.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Michał from PANATTONI, any of the changes that you guys implemented going to be long-term, or is this short-term challenges overcome? And are you better positioned?
Yeah, in short-term changes we observe it now. So we are looking for the long term how the changes will going on. So we are observing 3 trends. I double and confirm part of the sentence that Maciej said. So one is increasing in warehouse that are imported or distributed from the far region, from the Asia especially. The company consider to, okay, maybe we have to have a larger stocks for the critical components. The second issue, especially if they are missed of the small components or of the components that could be produced in the Europe, they are thinking about moving this production. We are not talking about the large movement of the production, but if we have some elements, small elements, this is the question that's they face it, and we also trying to help to answer them. That's okay. Maybe if there is a easy production to relocation, maybe this production is easier to relocate than to have a larger warehouse. And the third trend that we are observing is a changing model of distribution goods. The typical distribution by the shops, by the shopping mall, especially large shopping mall, is changing to the e-commerce. Yes, everybody is talking about the e-commerce, but a lot of the people during past 3 months discovered that's okay. We can order a lot of things and get it in my house. I don't need to go for shopping for many goods, starting for the paper, for the water, and other goods that we can use every day. So we are observing in this way that the commercial space is being changed to industrial space, and more people expecting goods not in the shopping mall but in front of their door to their house.
Excellent. Guys, I'm conscious of time. Tomasz, I'll ask you the same question in a minute. We've got about 6 minutes to go, maybe a couple of minutes after that for Q&A. So, Tomasz, if you don't mind, is your business better positioned right now, looking long term, as a result of the changes that you've implemented?
Well, I hope so. It's difficult to answer to date for this question. we still see that the situation is uncertain. We still see that well, right now the market is not somehow reacting negatively for our products. I can say that we really hope that people may even pay even more attention. They maybe can be even more aware of their living conditions. So for us, it might be a kind of, let's say, long-term opportunity. But looking from our perspective, I think it is too short, and definitely we can conclude based on the, let's say, whole year about the trends, about the situation, first of all, and it is also open question how the pandemic will behave, or how it will, how the situation will be in the autumn. So definitely, it is still open question.
Right. Final question to you: will Poland benefit in general as a result of this? You know, if you couple what Maciej said and Michał, do you see Poland? You know, do you see more volume being produced here than you're producing abroad?
Yes, I can confirm that we have some extra demand, and still Poland is in good competition with other locations. I can say that it is valid for whole Central and Eastern Europe. Most of the demand, most of the, let's say, extra orders comes to this region right now.
Thank you very much. Kasia from SPCC, I would like to basically offer anyone that has a question to please send it through. I don't know if any questions have already come out.
I'm afraid no question whatsoever so far. So we highly encourage everybody to ask the question at the moment. You can speak out or write it on the chat. This is the time to do that.
I think we can actually show ourselves, and we can use this opportunity, those few more minutes, if anybody has any comments to what we've been said already.
I have a, let's say, backup question. And I'll ask everyone to respond to that. Guys, do you think this was the reset that we actually did need in Poland? If you look at, you know, wage levels, you look at the cost of construction, materials, you know, obviously before COVID, we were having unprecedented growth, as you said, Maciej, in volume is for developers, you know, the amount of space being built, the amount of space being leased from occupiers, you know, was at record highs. Obviously, there's been a huge change with, you know, wages being cut, etc. But do you think the market was overheated at one point, and that we kind of did need this to happen? Maciej, this one's to you.
At some point, that was a case. At some point, we were facing, especially the labor market on logistics area, some significant pressure on salaries. We know that the effective, maybe not officially published, but real unemployment rate was close to zero. So maybe how brutal as it sounds, it was a fact that it was some sort of reset and just some moment of freeze, and just a look from the perspective what's the reality behind. And also it allowed lots of companies to revise their strategies and to look at what's going on inside. Do we need so many resources? Do we really need so many people there? Is it really that crucial to keep them? So this is I would agree that it was some sort of a reset, and it was it will only. I know that for some it might be painful. But it was at some moment of time needed, and in some way it was inevitable, because we were always talking when this crisis will come, when the crisis will come. but this is something that we were not expecting. But it also will change and make lots of adjustments to overall situation for sure.
Michał, quick 30 seconds from you on that.
Yes,
the reset we needed.
Yeah, the COVID pandemic changed the situation, but I think that it's become a more healthier situation. The expectation from pressure for salary, pressure for the demand of some service was maybe I will not say unhealthy, but it was tough sometimes. So now we have a situation that the foundation is stable, the market is healthier. In some areas we observe that the cost of the construction decreased but from the another hand the cost of the financing increased. So average we are on the same level, but situation becomes healthier now, and we believe that we have a good foundation to future growth.
Okay, Tomasz.
So actually, if I could just squeeze in, we have three questions from our participants. So if Tomek could answer just really quickly, I will start asking the questions from the participants. Okay.
Yes, I will try to take it quickly. I agree with Maciej and Michał. I can tell only from my perspective, we were approaching different, or we had trials to test some automation in the warehouses, in the warehouse operations before COVID. I think so far, usually it end up on the level that it's simply too costly, the payback is too long. I think pandemic will give us another, let's say, perspective. We need to think about stable and robust solution, and I really hope that it will open the new opportunities from this perspective.
Thank you. So, question from the audience.
Yes. So, Tom, actually, the first question is for you from Joanna Iwanowska-Nielsen. Your opinion on the last question you asked to the all panelists, probably the opportunities for Poland.
Yeah, I definitely think there is. I think a lot of companies are now focused on security, not just on cost, especially on when you look at supply chain and the movement of goods. Speaking to some of the manufacturers I work with, they've all said openly, yes, we were facing record unemployment. We were under pressure. It was an employee market. We needed to cut costs. Transportation costs were going up. Rents were also going up. So yeah, a lot of them are believe that there was a reset that we require. I think Poland will be a beneficiary of what's happening in Asia and probably also in the US. I think we will start seeing more and more manufacturing come into Poland requirement-wise, and I think the existing manufacturers that are already in Poland will also probably expand their footprints here.
Great, thank you, Tom. Another question we got from Przemek Piątek from Hub Logistics. What's your view on the demand of logistics automation solutions in Poland in the post-COVID environment? Will it increase, decrease, or remain the same? It's open to all panelists, so whoever wants to take up on
it. So maybe I will take this one. Automation will be an obvious trend, and I think it will not it will not slow down. But I wouldn't look at it from the perspective that suddenly the unemployment rate will drop. In my opinion, the automation is driven by the topic that we have just gently touched. So e-com. And I think that we need to have specified automation tools that will allow for very effective processes. So therefore, yes, it will. In my opinion, it will increase because for many years we were looking at the automation in Poland as something that was too expensive. but right now it's definitely not the case, and we are implementing already few automation projects in Poland, and I think it's also something that it's required, but I wouldn't link it to the overall situation. I think that this is something driven by the demand of the e-com, some dedicated specifics of some parts of the products, and this is something that will answering your question will increase, especially when the customers are ready to look at the longer perspective, because one of the elements that was impacting and was some sort of the barrier were the long-term commitment. And right now the customers are more eager to say, okay, it's pointless to sign a contract because maybe it's better to go for longer period, allow to appreciate the automation, and that would be much more beneficial for both parties. So that's my view.
Great, thanks, Maciej. And the other question is from Soren Olsen for Tom and for Michał. What's your take on rents in the industrial market, looking 12 months ahead? Stable, return to grow?
Michał, do you want to shoot first?
Yes, of course. Depending on the submarket, general situation we think is stable. So we don't observe any strong movement in the decreasing the rent. So the situation is stable. But of course, depending on the local submarket, the situation could slightly be different. It depends on the availability of the space, especially of the availability of the new project, because slowing down in the all authorities cause that we have a problems to getting a new zoning decision, building permits, and preparing a new production. So in some submarket, it could cause slowing down in delivering new product. In other market, we observing a lot of the existing space, and if the absorption will stay on the good level, we don't issue connected with this. So depending.
Thank you, Michał. Tom, you want to add something?
Yeah, I agree with Michał. I guess it very much does depend on the sub-market that we're talking about. I think, look, in the industrial logistics real estate market is probably the best performing right now. Other asset classes, be it residential, hotels, retail, of course, or offices, are going to suffer. We expect construction costs will probably come down. Some developers are shooting somewhere between 15 to 25%. Whether or not that will happen, we will see, but we are already seeing some reductions in construction costs. We need to anticipate that some companies will not come out of this, right? And we'll probably need to, give up space. So we may see the vacancy rate go up. And in oversupplied markets, that will force downward pressure on rents. I don't think it'll be dramatic. I think either way, you look at Poland's offering some of the most attractive rents in Europe for A-class institutional space. I guess the question will be what the banks will do, and also what investors will be doing. All right, how that will affect exits and also the willingness for investors to buy. I think there's a huge appetite still for industrial assets from funds. And I think in 12 months, we probably won't see dramatic change, Soren. But as I said, it will be very much dictated by the market or sub-market that we're talking about.
So guys, we have one last question so far from Rafał. Will production look for low price in transport and logistics, or will look for smart, safe solutions? Did we learn the lesson? Anybody want to take up on this?
Well, I can. Oh,
okay,
sorry.
Tomasz. Tomasz,
Yes,
okay, great, you started.
I will say yes, I hope so. However, it's a question, you know, how long we will remember about this lesson. I really believe that at least from our perspective, it is most important to keep the promise, to keep the deliveries, and we could observe that somehow yeah, it was in risk for a while. So definitely, I think we still need to search for the, let's say, stable solutions, stable operations. From that perspective, I would say transport and production, transport logistics is important to be on a good level. But let's see. I believe that it may change quickly when we go back to the, let's say, regular mode.
Great. Yeah, Tom?
You want to add to that?
Yeah, that would be my hope. Yeah, that will be that we will not be talking about only cost only, but also the stability of the whole flow of the goods. What Tomasz said, yeah, it only depends how long will this approach last. That we will have some rationality behind, because at some moments of time it was really tough, and right now we see that in fact, yes, this is something that the approach has changed, and there is much more openness to discuss rational, stable, rather than squeezed, the cheapest service, because this is obviously not the way that we should work, despite the fact that we had any macroeconomical or pandemic situations. I'm always for some rational approach, and it has to be in a situation when everyone has some space to maneuver, and this is the only way we should continue.
All right, so Tom, if you don't mind, we have one last question, and I think this will be the final one. Yeah. Again, one more question from Joanna. Any insight on last mile logistic and storage space locations close to or in cities?
Michał, do you want to fire away on that? He's muted.
Okay, I can develop this question. This is connected with the increasing demand in e-commerce. So of course, this is the required for the new space of the last mile logistics is increasing. People ordering more and more via email, via e-commerce, via distribution platform, and expect that the goods will be delivered to their doors. So yes, we see that this will be one of the areas when the demand for the new project will increase.
Is that mainly main cities, Michał, or are you seeing this across Poland?
I think this is the first. The first, of course, it will be in the core market, in the main cities. But also people from the medium cities also ordering via email. So we are observing that this local distribution center will be required also with the mid-sized cities.
I think that wraps it up. Agnieszka, anything else to add?
On the merit matter, not really, but I would love to thank you guys for a very insightful webinar. I hope that the amount of questions show themselves that we didn't even probably were able to answer all of them, but you gave the brilliant exposure of the market now and the future trends. So thank you very much. Thank you, Kasia, also for all the work in preparations. Thank you for accepting our invitation, and we will share the video with you later on. So one more time on behalf of SPCC, thank you for joining us.
I also would like to thank Maciej, Walenda, Tomasz Rychlicki, and Michał Samborski for your time, your insights. I wish you guys all the very best in your businesses. Hopefully we will get out of this stronger, be better positioned, and we can have a discussion in, say, 6 months' time to really see how things have changed for the positive. So on that note, I'd also like to thank everyone that joined the discussion today, all the participants and the audience. A big thank you to the SPCC also for organizing this. And I look forward to speaking to you all soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Great. Thank
very
you,
much,
everybody.
Stay safe.
Have a great day.
And but don't forget that it's still flying around somewhere. So, so
Be cautious.
Yes, stay safe and all the best. Thank you very much for arranging this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maciej.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.